Rise and shine, watch nerds. Today on Fresh from the Showcase, we've got a JLC with an alarm clock complication. Today at Fresh from the Showcase, we have a beautiful looking Jaeger LeCoultre Amvox. Now, Amvox is what they call the limited edition Memovox watch. And well, that will probably require some explaining. The Memovox is the JLC line, which comes with a very special complication. It's an alarm clock. It's actually a little clock that you can set and it'll actually sort of make a noise, kind of similar to a minute repeater or something like that, but this is a bit more of a loud, jarring sound, which is, I guess, meant to possibly wake you up in the morning if that's what you want to use your watch for, or to set some other different sort of time-based response that you want your watch to help you time. It will work great as a kitchen timer too, by the way. But that is something that they've made a lot. The Memovox has been around for quite some time, but this watch is a little more special than that because this is also a limited edition that they did in combination with Aston Martin. Believe it or not, for a long time, JLC and Aston Martin had a very close relationship, and they made limited edition Amvox watches from about 2004, leading up to a few years ago when Aston Martin's now official watchmaking partner is Richard Mille. But for the longest time, they made some fantastic watches, and we have one of the rarest and one of the most special of the Amvox watches, which is the Aston Martin JLC with the alarm clock complication, and this might be the coolest one. This almost doesn't look like a JLC when you look at it, and you could tell that if you love this watch, you really need to get your hands on it because this is a limited edition of only 500 pieces, and I have not seen another JLC that looks like it. Just right off the bat, the first thing you'll notice is fascinating green color. They call it Aston Martin green. I'm not sure if that's going to be indicative of an interior of an Aston Martin car, because I'll be honest, I've never been inside of one. But it is a beautiful looking forest green color, and the first thing you'll notice is these bizarro Arabic numerals that are on this. This is I'm going to say downright wacky watches for especially a very traditional watchmaker like JLC. You have Arabic numerals, which is already a very modern look, but then we also have alternating font sizes, which is not something I've seen in a lot of watches outside of like a Franck Muller or something like that, and I think it's just a ton of fun. This is almost like a watch that doesn't take itself too seriously, which I love because, again, this is one of the oldest and most historical European watchmaking brands in all of history, and look at this crazy racing watch that they came out with, again, the even numbers are just so much larger than the odd numbers on this. And it is just a ton of fun. It's going to be a huge conversation starter for the moment someone sees it on their wrist. The white color, of course, is a great contrast. It's really the only color these markers should be in relation to this deep, dark forest green dial. You also have a rotating chapter ring on the inside. These chapter rings both rotate. Both on the inner and the outer ring, which does, again, while this is a pretty easygoing and fun watch, it is still very complicated. JLC's never really forgot what they were doing when it came to making these watches. So we actually do have two rotating chapter rings. The inner one in a beautiful yellow color, which does, again, give you that great contrast with the forest green, and it gives a pop of brightness that you wouldn't have otherwise. I think if white and forest green are the only two colors that you see on this dial, it's going to look a little dark, it's going to look a little serious. That little splash of yellow, I think, is going to be the real difference maker between making this more of an austere type of racing watch with big numbers and something that's a lot of fun and sporty and something you're going to want to match with a lot of different colors there too. We do have a small date window here at 3, but I do want to move this hour hand, because I realize that's not where it should be, to really look at the detail of this date window. They actually have sort of a raised border here along the edge leading up to this rotating chapter ring, and I think it is a particularly beautiful detail. Most people would just put some sort of metal border around their date window, whereas this JLC, they actually, it's sort of, I guess you would say, sort of a gradient slope on the actual watch itself, which is sort of where they denote where the dial stops and the date window begins. It's really cool, and I don't know if I've seen anyone else do it like this. Finally, we do have Jaeger LeCoultre written down here at 6 o'clock. A very subtle placement, but I like that it takes up a good bit of space, and it's not on the top where you would expect it. Again, at 6 o'clock, it's a little unusual, and I absolutely love that. You do have 3 different crowns here on the side, so this is going to look a lot like a chronograph watch at first glance, but that's not what it does. The lower one here is going to change the time, as you see. The upper one here, I believe, is actually going to adjust the time of this alarm. And then the middle one is actually going to adjust the inner chapter ring as opposed to the upper one, which controls the outer one along with the alarm setting as well. Secondly, this is a titanium case. I can't believe I've gotten this deep into the video without mentioning what the case material is. So this is a very lightweight watch, definitely in keeping with being a race car watch, even though I don't know how practical this would be if you were actually in a racing cockpit. But let's be honest, you're not taking your dive watch 600 meters below the surface of the ocean either. So there's no need to take yourself too seriously there. 44 millimeters is pretty large though, especially for a traditional brand like JLC, but it's a great looking wrist presence. And a really fun sporty watch that's going to, give you a lot of space to play with and a lot of room to take up for people to notice all these fascinating dial features. On the back, we do have a solid case back. No exhibition on this one, but I do love the pair of rivets. There are a lot of rivets here for getting this case back open, and I think that does add a nice little subtle look to it. And we also do have a limited series number 150 of 500, which is what this is, and of course the Aston Martin logo on the back. It really wouldn't be complete without that to let you know this is a true collaborative watch and one that I think both JLC and Aston Martin could be very proud of. Lastly, we do have this beautiful green strap, which is more of a darker forest green, but does offer just enough contrast with that of the dial. But I think it is a ton of fun. And what is most important about all of this is you are not going to find this watch unworn, since I believe this particular one was produced in 2008. So that was 12 years ago, has not seen a wrist. This might be as much time as it's spent in any one person's hands, just because I'm shooting this video right now. It's a remarkably reasonably priced watch, considering how exclusive it is and considering how just prestigious the brand JLC is. But they're fantastic values for how complicated the watches can be. And I don't think we've done a ton of JLC videos on this channel. I'm hoping we can change that soon, because they really are one of my favorite watchmakers for a great reason. If you don't agree with me or agree with that last statement, it doesn't matter, because we have dozens of brands across the whole gamut of fine Swiss watchmaking. And of course, a ton of JLCs if you're looking to get into that a little bit deeper too. So subscribe to the channel and find out what new stuff we're getting in every week, and give us a call or shoot us an email at SwissWatchExpo.com.